retail analytics, insights, and best practices to drive business growth. My name is Sean Sharp. I'm the Sales Director of Corporate Ed at Regenesis. I'll give you a little bit of background into Regenesis. Regenesis is a business school. It's been operating for 25 years. It's a business school that offers training from doctorate level right down to an unemployed person with disabilities on a short course. We have over 700 staff in 5 countries worldwide, namely South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, India, and in the USA, with over 6,000 students studying various degrees and diplomas. And we have an alumni database of over 200,000 past graduates. Training philosophy at Regenesis is very different. Every business school has a different philosophy in training. At Regenesis, our training philosophy is essentially derived at developing human beings into ethical leaders. How do we do this? We do this by incorporating various different neuro-learning techniques into all our programs. And the key is to drive a behavioral change. So that's what we measure ourselves on, and that's what we try and deliver in all our training content, whether it's a 3-year degree or whether it's a 2-day short course. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a brief moment just to introduce our panelists in no random order, and just excuse 2 of our panelists that have come down with the flu. I think it's that time of the year. Everyone is picking up COVID strains again. All our international guests are bringing more COVID to us. So let's hopefully our panelists get well and get on nice and healthy. So our first panelist is Gaynor Clark. Gaynor Clark was the head of HR at the Levi Group. She's now the director of a company called Org-Effect XA. And Gaynor, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to give us a more in-depth background in terms of who you are.
Thank you, Sean. I hope I sound okay. I think I'm also coming down with some kind of a cold or flu. Thank you for the introduction, Sean. Yes, I recently, I think last month, left Levi's. Quite a big decision. And I think it's also quite a big decision because it's such a beautiful, iconic brand. So it's quite difficult when you go out on your own. I've started an organization called Org-Effect SA. I've been in retail since I left, not since I left my studies, but shortly after I left my studies. So I've been working in retail for over 15 years. It's one of the industries that I swore I would never work in, and then I ended up working in the industry for over 15 years. And I have to say it's been such an amazing journey, and I've worked for amazing brands as well, and I've learned so much about the industry. And I've become, I think, from an HR perspective, learned so much about what it is to be a commercial HR business partner. And I think the retail landscape has given me that grounding and that experience and that learning platform, which has been one of the best learning platforms for me as an HR practitioner, actually learning how to become a commercial business partner to the business and to the organization. So have been working in retail for over 15 years, like I said, and now trying to go out on my own and add value in a different way. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Gaynor. Our second panelist is Nonolulu Zabia, the Divisional HR Director at SPAR. Nonolulu, I'm going to hand over to you.
Hi, everyone. As Sean has said, it's Nonelela Baba, but I go by the name of Noni. I think it's easier for everyone. So yeah, please feel free to address me as Noni. I've been at SPAR for the past 16 years now. I've also been in retail for quite some time. Prior to that, I managed a small store and small MTN store, so still in retail. So yeah, over 20 years in retail, but for the past 16 years I've been at SPAR. I started in learning and development, which I still am, passionate about. You know what they say about your first love. So really passionate about learning and development, and that is why I still to this day, take up opportunities for webinars such as this, because one is the curiosity of what's happening out there, and as Gabriel has said, just the concept of being a business present, relevant, HR business partner, that is curious about the business, and also just being an HR director, also an official of the company, a senior officer of the company. So not necessarily a subject matter expert in HR, but I do have a role to play in the company itself, and so subjects like this, such as analytics, is quite important for the business today, particularly for retail business today. And yeah, retail does have that bug that does bite, and you stumble into it, as many of us do, but you find yourself staying, by choice. And I think more than retail, Spar is also one of those brands that really get you, I guess, loyal to the brand. And I think it's a function of numerous things. I think for me mostly is the coherent values that I have, in common with Spar, that I really, quite enjoy how we do things, and who I get to be within the business itself. So it really is an organization that I quite enjoy, with all its divisions. So I am an HR director for the South Rand division, which is the biggest of the Spar divisions in the Spar group, and it really is a pleasure and an honor to represent this brand. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nonnie. I think I'm going to start off this conversation by a little article that Forbes magazine published recently, and I'm just going to go through it quickly, and then we'll go into a whole question session. We've got some questions for the panelists that I'll ask. I'll rotate it around, and when Annie Lee joins us, I'll introduce her. From there, we'll go to the audience who will get some additional questions, and we'll take it from there. So Forbes magazine recently published this very interesting article. They said the biggest three challenges facing the retail industry, as we sit, the pandemic has transformed the way we live, and of course shop. And who doesn't love to shop? We all love to shop, right? Changes that we've seen coming for years suddenly accelerated in three new challenges for retail. So the first challenge they talk about is shifting consumer habits and understanding retail analytics. So according to Forbes magazine, 85% of today's shoppers believe that the pandemic has impacted on how they shop. Online purchases have increased, brand loyalty has decreased, but while in-person retail experiences remain popular, shoppers' expectations have changed. In fact, 86% of customers are willing to pay more for less. So that's the first challenge, and understanding the retail analytics around that. The second challenge they talk about, and I'm glad we've got two HR people on the panel today, is increasing staff turnover. So retail businesses have always faced a high challenge of high turnover, but the last few years we've seen a record number of people leaving the industry, and proving and filling vacancies has become very tricky. Forbes also reports that 83% of retailers are struggling to recruit the right people. The cost of hiring and training new people in the organizations, and the morale and productivity impacts everyone. The third challenge, which is funny enough also linked to HR, emerging skills gaps. Whether it's an automated checkout lanes or artificial intelligence has driven recommendations, new technologies are definitely transforming the retail experience. So that being said, that's our opening shots into retail analytics. I do now have online Annie Lee dos Santos from Samsung, the head of retail. Annie, if you are with us, I'd like you to do a quick intro to our audience and give us some background in terms of who you are and what is your background.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this is quite a key subject, I think, in today's landscape. I have been with Samsung 3 years after a 29-year career at a telecommunications company. And I think most industries are now starting to invest in retail analytics, particularly, dashboards and that one-page view of the world. And I think it's enabled companies to really shape and drive omni-channel opportunities, etc. So yeah, I'm excited to join you this afternoon, and I look forward to some discussion.
Perfect. Glad to have you on board. I'm going to start off with my first question to Nonnie. Can you share some examples of how retail analytics has helped your business improve their decision making and drive growth? And maybe reference it with, we know that SPAR has come on board in a very big way with their rewards program, and I'm sure that's something to do with retail analytics.
Okay, I think I must stay muted so I don't have to go back and forth. So I think, as you said, Sean, we've recently rebranded and relaunched our values program. But what retail analytics has done, I think, for us and many of other businesses, is that it has taken out the guessing game, out of the decision making, particularly key decision making of the organization. So you just referred, to a report that speaks about, the trends of, how customers make decisions. And, convenience is one of the key things. Luckily for us, we've always sold convenience. We've always been in the game of convenience, even from the old times of there's a friendly spa wherever you go, to spa good for you. So whatever it is that we've been doing really has been in the type of convenience space. But I think what has been important for us lately is that we are looking for information that is important in us making the decision, so that we are not guessing in terms of the decision making. So for instance, for us to fine tune the offering that we give to customers, it's very important for us to understand, who is Nonnie, a consumer, of SPAR. So it's important for us to have that information, which we get in the form of rewards. So our rewards program is not only a tool for us to reward our customers with discounts, but it's also a tool for us to get to understand what are their buying patterns, what is it that is important to them. So when we do even reward them with discounts, we understand which products are they looking for, which products are important for them, when do they shop, how do they shop, so from a personalizing our service point of view, it's been quite a key area for us. And as you have rightfully said, that the space of online shopping has increased quite a lot. As you would notice, we've also been in that space with the launch of SPAR to You as well. And what has also been important for us is that we don't let go of what we had, which is the in-store customer, but we use the analytics to enhance, what we already have. So that information that we are collecting through our analytics is also fine-tuning, our retailing, so that when the customer comes into the store, we are able to offer them what it is that they actually need in terms of layout, in terms of, fresh, in terms of whatever offering it is that they need, and in terms of who they are and what they expect, from their local retailer. So what it has also done is it has also enhanced our ability to retail in the store itself, while offering convenience. So the convenience in form of, online, but also convenience in form of the experience that they get, within the store when they come in. It optimizes our pricing decisions. I think it's important for everyone. So while customers are not only deciding on price, we do understand the economic environment that we are in, and price will always be, a big thing. Our product allocation, so that we are able to, understand who is the customer. We are able to segment our customers. We are able to segment our stores in the correct way, and we allocate the program, the products that they need. So all in all, what it has really done for us is that it has given us insight, and it is up to us to interpret that insight in the best possible way, for the customer. But we've really been able to fine tune our instincts in as far as, who our customer is and what does our customer expect.
Thank you. I think when you mention it like that, there's a purpose in using your Spark card to regulate your purchase, because ultimately the information could actually end up saving us as consumers, on for example, your products stocking, your inventory management, etc., etc. So very interesting. Thank you. My next question, I'm going to go to Annie Lee. What key retail metrics should businesses focus on to gain actionable insights and improve performance? And your product at Samsung, you're probably dealing with a scenario of being sold out of your products. So how do you manage your inventory based on that?
Yes, thank you for that. So yeah, we across about 9,000 touch points in South Africa alone. And we've been able to build a one-page dashboard that really enables us to look at our stock from a sell-in, sell-through, sell-out perspective. We deep dive down to each region, each store, each channel. So for us, I think we've been on this journey, particularly this last year, where we have really invested in how do we get our one-page view of the world and where we under-index, over-index, etc. So for us, stock is generally not a problem. Market share, it's the fight that we fight on a daily basis. But what analytics has done for us is that we've seen where we under-index in certain regions, in certain channels, in certain branches. And we really look at it because we obviously sell mobile as well as consumer electronics products. So we look at each store and we say, well, this store is under index on mobile. And there's certain levers that we pull, whether it's CRM, whether it's, promoters on the field. And these are some of the levers that we've put in place. And we've absolutely changed the game when we've seen that we're under indexed. So, for us, I think we've been in a fortunate position that we have invested and built the analytics exactly to drive our opportunities. And I think we've seen it in our results. When you look at retail, we have detail down to sales per square meter. We have, sales per employee, average transactional value, basket value. So depending on the industry you're in, you can absolutely stretch it year on year. How do we stack up in that hub of, for example, Fourways or Bryanston? Are we stacking up against competitors? So, we absolutely look at data every day, and you absolutely have to become obsessed with it to kind of constantly be at it. And that's the fight you fight in retail.
Just a follow-up question to that, Annie Lee. You've obviously got all this wonderful analytics. How does that impact your staff? Is there skills gap requirements? Is there a way for them to process and digest the information better? Are you finding you have the right staff in place to use that data?
So I think, first of all, you've got to build that skill capability internally. So once you've got a proper business innovation team that deliver the results, I think that's the key thing. When you talk in the field, for example, we now have a capability that on an app, our field staff know every day where they are in terms of target setting. And what we found is that, over the last couple of months, there were like 40% of people not meeting their sales commissions. And now that we have the visibility on an app, on their phone, they know every day where they are. They can see in their particular store. They've got enough stock to make their target for the week. So I think the visibility for staff has enabled them to perform better. We're now at a place that everybody's making commissions. We have said to people, you can write your own salary check based on a high performance culture. So staff want to know where they stand. They want to know how they stack up. Am I in the top 20? Am I in the top 30? Where am I? I don't want to be at the bottom. And the visibility of results, data, sales, where you are in your region, where you are in your channel, if that's not available, how do you measure yourself? So for us, it's been a game changer And it has absolutely made people feel part of a winning mentality, winning culture. And it's because the data is there. They never have to shoot in the dark. They know where they stack up and they know where they're at. So for us, I think there has to be a culture around, what's the number, what are we chasing, etc. And once that's visible, the performers will stand out, the non-performers will stand out, and nobody wants to be at the bottom. So for us, it's been a culture shift. It's been a high performance drive, and it comes from the top. Our CEO owns it. We all know where we're at. Across our value chain, the guys in logistics understand what the sell through and the sell out means for everybody in the touch point across the business. So I think once you've got that ecosystem across your business working well, it absolutely is a game changer.
Nani, I see you got a question there.
Yeah, I think I'm quite excited by this concept of who staff show up as within the age of analytics, and just appreciating what Annalie is saying in terms of driving the high performance culture. And organizations that are able to do that well are organizations that are transparent, because we are all evolving together. Just as the organization is evolving, the skills required for that organization to run it today and also in the future, take it to the future, are also evolving. So organizations that will be transparent and take employees with and say, what was, so for instance, I can think of a role that we have, which was a retail consultant, which was not so long ago, say 5 years, 10 years back, it was more for coordinating type of position, and it's a sales position where we've got staff that go into stores, and they were historically coordinators between the SPAR group and the independent retailer, and able to assist the retailer with their growth, but more from a coordinating point of view. What has now been required of them is that they are able to interpret data. In fact, they are able to first farm the data that could exist in different forms. Once they have done that, they are then able to interpret it and then make decisions, based on that data. Now that it requires a lot, in terms of transitioning from a coordinator into, a digital citizen who's able to look for what you are looking for in the data that is available, interpret it in terms of what it means for your business, and being able to deliver value, for the business. And in our sense, that is the retailer, but also being able to think of the ultimate consumer who goes into the store and buys from the store. So it's quite an exciting, type of era of transition. We spoke a lot about the organization of the future, and we are seeing ourselves living in the organization of the future, and writing, that future. And it's quite important that we as business leaders are writing that with our employees in the most transparent form possible.
Thank you. Gaynor, I'm going to ask you a question now. In your experience, what are some of the common challenges that retailers face when trying to implement retail analytics to drive brand loyalty, and how can they overcome them?
Listening to Nani and Annalie, I think also when we implement these initiatives, or there's a change that happens within the organization, or a shift in mindset, or a shift in, Annalie spoke about the culture, and what is the culture, and is the culture driving what it is that you're wanting to achieve. I think one of the biggest challenges is change management, or lack thereof. I've seen how initiatives, or anything that you really implement, even if it's a small thing, fail. And we ask ourselves, why did it fail? And then when you ask, what did we do? How did we implement it? It's always kind of come back to me for change management. It's about understanding the impact of whatever change is that we are implementing, understanding who it's impacting, understanding what the skills required are. So do we have a change and communication plan? Do we have an engagement plan? And then further to that, do we have a training plan? So for example, if we're implementing a new POS system, point of sale system, is it a matter of implementing the point of sale system and everybody from a corporate perspective understanding what that means, and then it goes into the store environment or the retail environment? How is it then implemented, and are we being mindful? Is there a level of mindfulness around the impact on not only the employee but also the impact on the customer? Are we checking and fact checking and testing whether the systems and the information that we're implementing and the information we're pushing into the environment is landed and it's landed effectively? And for me, that sometimes, from a people perspective, has really been one of the biggest challenges for us in the retail space, in the organizations where I've worked. So in the organizations where I've worked, where there's a huge focus on the change management component, and essentially bringing the end user into the process from the onset. So within that change management process, who's the end user? And there's the customer, and then there's the employee at the cold face, bringing them into that process from the onset and having them have a voice. So from a DE&I perspective, you include the end user into almost the development, the blue sky thinking. That's where I've seen where there's been huge success in implementing change within the organizations, particularly as it relates to, the technological transformation also that we see within the workplace. Because if the employee at the end of the day is going to use this new device that helps them understand layouts within the store, as an example, if they are going to be the ones using it, that's going to help us understand data, let them be a part of the process. And that really, for me, is part of the change management process, and how we have that level of mindfulness and never forget. We sometimes become bogged down with the product we want to have, the product that we want to implement, and then it's kind of tick, we've implemented the product. And we need to be mindful of who the end user are, who's being impacted by whatever it is that we are implementing, whatever it is that we're bringing into the organization. And that's really where the culture that Annelies spoke about, in terms of whatever it is that you're implementing, becomes almost entrenched and then sustainable, because you want the information and the processes and the data, whatever it is that you're implementing, you want to really be sustainable, and you want to be able to have a successful implementation and information that kind of makes sense at the end of the day, and employees who feel empowered and upskilled to be able to assist the organization then within that context and within that change.
Yeah, thank you. I think, as you spoke about, change management is critical to the implementation of a new trend. And Nili, you spoke about that change culture in terms of the winning, the game-changing attitude of having sales leaderboards. And as a sales director for the last 20 years, understand the impact that social leaderboards can make on organization. So how have you implemented, from a staffing point of view, the cultural change to embrace all this new technology?
I think for us at Samsung, there was a lot of frustration within the field, because, as you know, we are actually an OEM, so we actually sell our products through network operators, through big mass mart and the like. So for us, our sales staff effectively are not our staff, right? So they are the likes of the Vodacom, MTN, Telkom, Macro, etc. So our biggest frustration has been the fact that we've got 300 field teams that are really just Samsung ambassadors, and they all have targets. And for us as a business, sure, internally we've got sales targets and we're obviously driving results there. But for us, is our sell in to our third party network operators and retailers. For us, that's a big win, because once the stock is there, in essence, you know, you get your sell through and your sell out, which is where the product is purchased by the customer. So for us, we actually have a two-prong approach that we obviously, when we launched our retail analytics, it was a journey, it was a roadshow, some of it was online. But the problem was, and the frustration among salespeople and people in the field, was that they never actually knew where they stood. So the ability to pull this dashboard together, and it's over 300 sources of data, because some is, you know, logistics is where the stock was dropped. It's point of sale data from retailers, etc. And bringing this world together has absolutely made life easier for the salespeople. They know their number. They go on an automated dashboard. It tells you every day where they're at, what they've got to do for the week, the month, the quarter. So for us, it was absolutely more issue of salespeople generally. It's the number that matters, right? And for them, that motivation in itself, they know where they're at. They know what they need to chase. From a field perspective, we pay incentives, and we actually spend a lot of money, okay, over 200 million a year. And in my team, what we do is we drive incentives. So to all the retailers out there that are doing an amazing job for Samsung, we pay their sales staff, we pay the store managers incentives, you know, and it's obviously tiered per product. So they want to earn cash, right? So what this tool has enabled us is to kind of show how far you are from meeting your target. By hitting this target, you're going to earn this. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. So working together with the retailers, you know, their sales staff, our field staff, has really been a motivational tool in itself, because it's a performance tool, it's a remuneration tool, and absolutely it is what is driving the higher performance. And we're seeing that with the number of people that every month are cashing in on massive incentives. So for us, it was easy, because, you know, it's cumbersome being a salesperson, not being able to know your number, trying to, you know, look at sell in, sell through, sell out. And this dashboard is basically at a fingertip. You can see per channel, per region, per store, per employee where you're at. So it just sells itself. I do get the comment about the change management, and I believe that, you know, there has to be a part of that, whether it's a roadshow, whether it's an online CEO launch, there has to be a bit of a hype created around it. But if you look at the efficiencies you're building in your business by enabling people to have this at their fingertips, it's just unmatched. So from our side, yeah, it's been a huge driver of performance, a huge game changer for external salespeople that support our brand, and they are drawing the rewards from our fantastic incentives that we pay. So I think we're fortunate in that we've been on this journey, and yes, it is a massive investment for smaller companies that don't have this opportunity to do that. You know, as long as you're in a position that you've got data and you can make that visible, however, whether it's in a smaller format, you know, there are smaller tools that you can use to make this visible to your people. It doesn't have to be this, you know, over the top 5-star, you know, one click of the world. You can do it in your smaller business as well. But for us, I think it's absolutely changed our game.
So you mentioned that not everyone has the budget of Samsung. I mean, I've just got a Samsung. I just bought my Samsung S23 just to make myself relevant for this conversation. But a lot of the smaller companies don't have those type of budgets to really interpret the data. You mentioned smaller companies could take one or two elements out. So if you were giving advice to a smaller company, what do you think are the two most important criteria for them to start measuring on an analytics basis?
So you may not have the tools to purchase, whether it's you know, a solution or whatever. But if you're a smaller business, You have got data at your disposal. You know, if you can afford a junior analyst and have somebody that you make, it could actually be your CRM person as well, because I mean, it's the CRM team in most businesses that's driving, you know, the customer journey, you know, what they're purchasing, you know, their behaviors, their characteristics, which enable you to segment your market, your products. So ultimately for me, you know, if you've got an individual in your team that can just take the data that you have, mine it, spend time on it, understand your customer, understand their journey, what are they buying, how are they buying, what makes them tick. And at a value proposition, you could put bundles together that talk to certain segments. You know, digital marketing is so inexpensive. So for a small business, if you just start packaging, who's my most valuable customers? What do they do? What do they look like? What does an offer look like that can make them spend more, stay with me longer? And I mean, if you look at some of the research that's been done with McKinsey, you know, customers that are actively engaged with brands and loyalty programs, they make 90% more frequent purchases. They spend 6% more on transactions, and they're 5 times more likely to choose your brand for the future. It doesn't take massive money. It's basics. Use the data you got, make it work for you, and really start segmenting offers and looking at how do I mine these customers, how do I make them buy more, and how do I keep them with me and that lifetime journey. So it's not that difficult.
Okay, thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a follow-up question to Nani. So whereas Samsung was using their retail analytics predominantly for internal purposes, you are engaging with the third parties, i.e. the customers. And SPAR's got a huge reach. We probably find a SPAR in all the small Odopies all across South Africa. And we're dealing with a consumer that's maybe not too comfortable in sharing all the details required to get a SPAR rewards card. So how have you worked to ensure data privacy and security for your customers when they're signing up on your SPAR cards? And what challenges you face in that space?
Sean, I think you've spoken about the simplicity of our customer, and sometimes that is a matter of you know, it's how things are, but it's also a matter of preference at times, you know, because a customer goes into a retail store to get milk and bread and whatever it is that they want to get. So they really do not want complexity. It's really not part of it. So if one looks at the way in which we receive our data, so even if you look at the rewards program, it's in the simplest way possible. So you know, it's data in as far as just your basic information and your physical card or your online card, which you can access via, you know, the SPAR app if you don't have the physical card. So at times you can even, you know, give up your number and then it pulls through. So first and foremost, simplicity. That's exactly what our customers need, and it is enough. You know, for the purpose, you know, with which we need it for. But we are only talking about the loyalty program. When we speak about the rewards, there's also our value-added programs where, or services where customers come into the store to pay their utilities. Some customers have financial transactions, you know, which is sending money to various, you know, areas. And as you alluded to earlier, we've got stores in, you know, various areas within, you know, within the country. And so we've got customers that come on a regular basis on sets, you know, days to send money to, you know, certain stores. That in itself is gathering, you know, of information in as far as, you know, what are the needs of, you know, of our customers. And of course, you know, protection of that information is quite key for us, because we are talking about, you know, sensitive, you know, ways in which customers are transacting. So we really keep to, simplicity, the integrity of that data. That is really, and we invest a lot in the integrity of data, in the protection of that, data thereof. So that for us is quite key. And in as far as, I think you also spoke about challenges, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, in as far as I think in terms of being able to implement certain systems like this, and then secondly upholding them. I think a lot of companies work on analytics, or they put up analytic strategies as separate strategies to other parts of the business. And because we are still quite new in this sort of omni-channel processes. And what our team, is doing, and we've got a team of experts, which, the people space are not a part of that team of experts, but what they do well in what they communicate to the business and in what we see is that omnichannel is entrenched in our strategy and in our priority areas. So one cannot speak about omnichannel as a priority area without speaking about driving fresh, without speaking about the retail experience, without speaking about marketing within this. So a lot of organizations want to speak of the mining of data or omnichannel or driving loyalty programs as a standalone without entrenching it in the greater strategy of the business, and being able to use that information in the best possible way within the business. And I think that is quite important for us, so that we are then able to drive that as a group strategy, not necessarily as a standalone part of the business.
Thank you, Noni. I'm going to move your omni-channel query to Gaynor, who's a specialist in luxury brands. How have you found that omni-channel developing over the years, from in-store retail to online purchases?
Sorry, I missed the last part.
In the question. So the omni-channel differentiator between online purchases and in-store purchases, how have you found in a luxury brand, how's that changed your strategy?
It's enhanced
For me or Noni?
Oh,
sorry, Noni, that's for Gaynor.
Okay.
Sorry. So I think, a couple of years ago, from a retail perspective, we were focused on the in-store experience. And I think some retailers went to the nth degree to create a theater within the store. And yes, it was the shift that was starting to happen from a consumer perspective, where, to your point, I'd actually pay a little bit more, where there's great customer experience, and where there's good service. And then, of course, over the last couple of years, like over the many couple of years, we've seen the shift of the focus on omnichannel. And I think from a strategy perspective, those retailers that hasn't been focused on enhancing and improving their strategic intent as it relates to omnichannel is obviously being left behind. And I think when things then like complexities like COVID then hits us, you see how you're on the back foot if you don't look into the future and say, what does the future look like? And I think Noni spoke about it earlier. The future is here. The future is now. And we constantly have to look at what is the
Recording in progress. And if you're not playing in the omni-channel space, it's absolutely key for customers to be able to buy online, pick up in a store, and vice versa. If you don't have the stock in the store, you need to do same-day delivery to the customer, you know, and that type of thing. So, Zane, I think those are key things for me. Where you are on your journey, bricks and mortar important, where you play, how you invest your money at a digital level, search engine optimization, etc., how you stack up with competitors. So I think it's quite a 360 approach, but ultimately is, you know, unpack those pillars and what are your key strategic pillars for where you are as a business. And I would then take it bite size by bite size.
Thank you for answering that question. I've got another question from Dr. Zane Relier for Nonnie. The question says, great catching up with you again on this webinar, great contribution. Given the importance of retail, space and analytics, how are you ensuring from a human capital point of view that there is sufficient support and competence in this high volume journey?
Okay, so I like how McKinsey have grouped what they call the skills of the future, which is we are actually, you know, in the future, you know, right now, and they speak about this concept of deltas, which is a combination of skills and attitudes. Where in the past we've really glorified, you know, your technical skills. That generally have got nothing to do with attitudes such as intuition, you know, such as, you know, just the ability to connect, you know, with people, whether as a global citizen or just physically in store at Acacia, being able, you know, to connect with people. And what they have done is they have now combined, you know, these two concepts of, you know, your technical skills as well as attitudes that are able to drive. And as we have been talking throughout this webinar, we've really been speaking on the importance of that human element in terms of how we drive this this sort of analytics space. And so what they have done in categorizing those deltas, so to say, is that they speak about cognitive skills, which we are quite aware of, particularly as human capital practitioners, because we've always played in the space of, you know, developing these and as I've said earlier, glorifying them almost. And then so that's the cognitive. So we're not throwing that away. It's still quite key and quite important. But then there's interpersonal skills. There's also digital skills, and that does not only speak of the development, it also speaks of the digital citizenship and the understanding and the interpretation, you know, of, you know, that space. And then it speaks of self-leadership. So these four categories where you are able to not only, as we did in the past, where we are focusing on jobs, but we are focusing on the skills that are required, you know, for the organization. And if for this particular aspect of, you know, running the business, what you want or what you need as a business is in this category, so which can be in the interpersonal, for an example, you then, you know, develop that and you tend, you know, that skill, you know, versus, you know, having jobs where you can only do this. So as we are here, so, you know, some of us being human capital practitioners and speaking to, you know, digital analytics, because we all are driving, you know, the business. So, you know, to answer the question, it really is this, you know, whole concept of not only focusing on jobs and the technical know-how that comes with it, but focusing on skills and holistic, you know, so your technical skills and your attitude that makes up those skills. And for us in the human space, it's about cultivating these skills. It's about ensuring that we are giving employees a platform to be able to exercise those skills and be ambassadors of the brand in the digital space the same way that they do, physically. And it's about, as I said earlier, taking employees, within whatever it is that you are doing, and in the movements that you are doing, from your physical store to your digital presence. So it really is just speaking about being future-proof as an organization, and looking into where is the future of your business. What does your business need in the future from a skills perspective, and being able to guide, the business, and most importantly, your employees in whatever skills that are needed. But most importantly, being able to use whatever skills and attitudes that they already have, currently.
Noni, I like that. I like the Delta philosophy, because exactly as Gaynor was saying, is our staff are now having to buy into our brands, and attitude is dependent on where they work. I mean, who would have ever thought that SPAR would have a full team of data analysts behind the scenes in a cupboard somewhere analyzing consumer data? We've almost out of time. I can't believe an hour's gone so quickly. I've still got 2 pages of questions. I don't think we're going to get to those 2 pages of questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of you to just give me your 30-second closeout, and look at it like this. Where is your business in 5 years' time, and what are some of the fundamental changes, that we'd see in the industry? So I'm going to start off with you, Gaynor. Gaynor, you are mute.
Sorry, that only happened towards the end. I was wondering who that was going to happen to. So as I'm not working for an organization right now, I think just my perspective is that at the moment we need to understand the world is complex, the world is VUCA, and within that context, what are the competencies that, like Noni says, what are the competencies that we require to function within the VUCA world? Because if we are unable to function within the VUCA world, whether it's within the context of selling a product, digital transformation, analytics, I think Noni is spot on. The focus that we need to be having is around the human skills. I think there's also a debate around what kind of skills are these? Are these soft skills, hard skills? What are they? There's also the debate around the terminology. But how do we engage and interact with humans? At the end of the day, there's customers. We have to engage with our customers. What are the skills that we require for the future? And as we saw with COVID, the 1 minute the world is one way, the next minute the world is a different way. So are we agile in the way we work? Are we agile with our frameworks that we have within our organization? And are we ready for anything that's going to hit our organization? Are we ready for the change? And then again, from a change management perspective, are we able to manage whether it's big change or small change from an agility perspective? And I think one of the other competencies for me is EQ. From an EQ perspective, are we able to handle whatever comes our way within this complex world?
Thank you, Gaynor. Annie-Lee, I'm going to go over to you.
Samsung in 5 years, hopefully 100% market share. But I think given the topic of today, probably a fully entrenched, data-driven culture all round. I think agility, definitely, I agree with that. The ability to deliver within an hour, I think that's kind of where we would want to see ourselves. And then I think for us, we're not there for a fully omni-channel experience between our own Samsung eStore, but our retailers are doing that well in most cases. So I think for us, we will definitely have a better handle on our omni-channel, because consumers can buy from us directly. We also own our own brand stores. So as group head for retail for Africa, my role is expanding significantly in Africa. So a lot of my time and my energy is actually there, and for us, I think we're going to continue investing in bricks and mortar stores. We're trying to change our mobile experience in some of our big flagship stores. So for us, it's an exciting journey. Retail is exciting. Retail is about detail. It's about people. It's about skills. And it's a space that I'm particularly passionate about. So, I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. And, we hope to win the game out there and continue to drive our market share.
Thank you very much. Noni, from your perspective?
From our perspective, I think what we are looking forward to in the next 5 years is a retail excellence. We've always had independent retailers who are passionate about retailing. And those are, the retailers with information that are really going to deliver what we call sustainable value. And that is an ecosystem of, your shareholders, your employees, the organization itself, the independent retailers, and most importantly, our customer and ultimate consumer out there. So you can certainly look forward to, a retail excellence that really drives great, store experience, but also great online experience. You can look forward to an organization that will not change entirely to what you know, which is really we say we are the number one choice brands in the communities that we serve. So a very community, driven organization that is a responsible social citizen, a very simple, type of brand that anyone and everyone knows, looks up to, loves, and that only has sort of improved or progressed in the form of excellence, not necessarily in the sort of root of what SPAR to be, or what people have always known SPAR to be.
Perfect. Well, I'd like to take this time now to thank our online audience. Thank you for everyone attending on the various different social media platforms we got. I think from the panelists, some of the key words that are here is agility, is detail, and retail excellence. So, in amongst that, I see a whole lot of job roles changing. I see KPIs in different jobs changing, and ultimately change management and training. So thank you everyone for participating, and we look to engage with you in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.